Hello everyone and welcome back to my Crafting the Middle Ages Minecraft series, where I hope to educate and entertain you about the medieval era. In the second episode, we'll be covering medieval mining and castle building. For medieval mining, we'll be going over how medieval mines functioned, what tools they used, how they operated, and more. In terms of castle construction, for this episode I'm hoping to get the basic walls, towers, and keep finished on my concentric castle. As you can see behind me, I think we achieved that goal pretty well. That means we'll be going over the different sections of a castle, how they were constructed, and what specific architectural designs they utilized. I hope you enjoy episode 2 and have a good day. See you around. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Crafting the Middle Ages, and as you can see at our tent base that we set up last episode, it's kind of a mess. And it's a mess because I downloaded the mod Lepage, I believe it's called, which is a mod for Minecraft that lets you import your schematics from your builds into your survival or your creative world. And it kind of shows all of the framework that I set up for the castle walls and where every building is going to be and things like that. I kind of want to set up a quarry right there just because it's kind of within our boundaries of these cliffs, and it's very nearby and you can probably get to mining level really quickly. It's very close to our base because our base is right there, so it's not that far of a distance to transport materials. It's kind of within these protective cliffs, so the enemy wouldn't be able to easily reach it. It does kind of funnel down into a sort of quarry shape already, so I'm kind of hoping to just continue funneling downwards until we get to a suitable level for mining. Medieval mines and quarries were rather essential in medieval life, yet I feel like they get overlooked because we, in the modern age, just see the end result of huge castles, churches, and other creations. The people who worked there extracted the metal that allowed tools to be forged so that they could build things like castles and churches. They also extracted the stone that provided the building material for these large-scale projects. Much of the information that we have for medieval mining and its practices are taken from the De Re Metallica, no, not the band. Translated as On the Nature of Metals, it's a mining manual from 1556 by Georgius Agricola, a metallurgist. Despite being written technically in the Renaissance period, it is very likely that mining practices remained largely unchanged when Agricola created the work. The book goes over a very broad array of subjects related to mining, such as where to mine, finding ores, mining methods, the types of ore veins, and much more. But before you can start mining for any stone or ore, you have to pick an actual location to mine. In Minecraft, you can make it pretty much anywhere you want. For Agricola, though, the process was a bit more complicated than that. To choose a place to mine, he goes by 7 general criteria. Now, a miner, before he begins to mine the veins, must consider 7 things, namely, the situation, the conditions, the water, the roads, the climate, the right of ownership, and the neighbors. On top of this, however, he also considers 4 different types of land. There are 4 kinds of situations: mountain, hill, valley, and plain. He claims the first 2 are the best for mining because tunnels can be dug to drain off water, which oftentimes cause problems such as collapse and injuries for miners, in addition to stopping work altogether. Now that you have a mine location, how do you actually make a mine and start finding ores? Agricola writes to set up a shaft boring straight down into the earth or at an angle. He recommends setting up a windlass or a winch above the mine to make hauling materials easier. To find ores, some are easier to find, such as those that are on the surface and have been exposed by rain, wind, or storms. The ore veins that are hidden can either be found by bubbling spring waters or by finding flakes of exposed ore that had broken off on the surface. Agricola once again divides these ore veins into 3 different types. The first is venae profundae, or deep veins, which extend from the surface to the lowest depths. The second type is venae dilatatae, or dilated veins, which cover a large area underground. The third and last type of ore are venae cumulata, or vast veins, which is just a simple term to label large concentrations of ore. Agricola doesn't write about stone quarrying, but workers would usually choose a large stone and extract block shapes with precisely placed wedges beaten into the stone with hammers. Later, gunpowder helped to quicken the process of extraction. To add on to this, miners used a wide variety of tools to extract ore, such as hammers, chisels, shovels, pickaxes, and hoes. For transport, buckets, wheelbarrows, or pulley systems were used. Turns out Minecraft isn't too different from actual medieval mining methods. So this is just another small update as to the mine and the resources and all that sort of stuff. So basically, the last couple days I haven't been able to actually play on the single player world because I was on a trip in northeast Britain, and I saw Bamberg Castle and a whole bunch of other castle ruins and stuff like that from a very nice bed and breakfast that I stayed at over the weekend for the last couple days. And I actually only got back yesterday, so this is basically the first time I've been able to play. You might have noticed that things have kind of expanded a little bit. I've basically filled these chests with materials such as cobblestone, andesite, a couple slabs just for decoration, and then this normal cooked stone. And then over here we have an auto smelter. So basically the way that this works is that I put the stone, or the cobblestone rather, up into this top chest. It funnels down through the hopper into the furnace where it gets cooked, and then it goes through the second hopper, and the cooked product finally comes out at the bottom. And these small chests on the side are used as storage for fuel for the furnaces. They definitely did not have this in the medieval age, but you know, I thought since I'm one person and it's Minecraft, I could kind of bend the rules a little bit. And our trusty donkey is taking a well-deserved break outside because he was currently pulling basically all of those materials that are in those chests up to the surface. So thank you, donkey. I appreciate it. And then down here, the mine has remained relatively unchanged, at least on this main path, but you'll see over here on the left, as they say, I've been mining a little bit off camera. Over here is also another sort of, I suppose, machine, although it's very ugly on the exterior, but it is very useful. It is an automatic stone generator. The way that this works is the lava up there funnels down into the water, and that automatically creates cobblestone. And then when I break it, it goes down into that hopper down there, and then it goes through the hopper and it funnels into these chests where I pick it up and I load it on the donkey. Okay, so you have your mining spot picked out, your ores located, your tools and equipment prepared, but who's actually going to run the mine? Who's going to work there? In 1185, the city of Trento in Italy saw the arrival of the first Silbari, or miners who worked under the watch of bishops. This system basically worked like manorialism. The miners worked to produce a certain profit threshold for the bishops, and in return, the workers received housing. The mines were arranged into concilii, or councils, or agreements. There were also certain rules, such as keeping new mine shafts 10 paces from existing mine shafts, and fines would have to be paid if the mine happened to flood. This soon expanded into places like Bohemia and Sardinia, who expanded the system to include accountants, chief mining engineers, mine managers or overseers, furnace workers, as well as the usual mine workers. Mining judges, or urbarari, were also in place to enforce mining law. Once again, Agricola details all the people needed to run the mine efficiently. The mining prefect, the burgmeister, the jurors, the mining clerk, the share clerk, the manager of the miner tunnel, the foreman of the miner tunnel, and the workmen. Now that we have all the people, tools, equipment, and regulations in place, we can start to construct the walls, towers, and the keep of the castle. So as you can see, I made a little dirt bridge going across to the island in order to get our donkey across, who is laden with supplies like stone. I'm also carrying a whole bunch, and he's going to help us move our building materials so we can actually start building the castle now. So yeah, now we're crossing the dirt bridge, and as you can see, the land has been pretty flattened out. I still don't have any official stone bridges leading into and out of the castle, but I think the more important bit is probably the castle keep and the walls. So I think that's what we're going to work on getting built first, is the actual structure of the castle, and then the bridge to and from the mine can come in, and the bridge to and from the mainland can come in. All right, well, now that we have our schematic loaded up for the keep, I guess all that's left to do is start building. And for the keep, the materials I'm going to be using are just normal stone for this kind of base layer. For the stitching that goes on the corners of the towers, I'm going to be using smooth stone, and then for the normal walls of the keep, I'm just going to be using regular stone bricks. So hope you guys can sit back, relax, and enjoy the time lapse as I build my castle keep. With the mine section covered, what were stone castles built from? Well, they were most commonly built from limestone, sandstone, or granite, depending on what was available in the local area. For example, Crac de Chevalier in Syria is mainly made from limestone, while Beaumaris Castle in Wales is made with a mixture of limestone and sandstone. The walls were usually faced, or covered, with a thin layering of fine stone, such as ashlar. For the spaces between the thick castle walls, these were filled with rubble and ashlar from the quarry. The mortar for the binding material between the blocks was made from burnt limestone or chalk, which produced quicklime. This quicklime was then mixed with water, then sand, to form a spreadable putty consistency. Lots of this quicklime mortar takes an extremely long time to set, so even today there are castles with mortar that has not completely gone off or set. What tools did medieval stonemasons and engineers use to build castles? Well, it turns out they used a lot of similar tools as today's masons. They used trowels to spread the quicklime mortar, mason's levels and plumb bobs to check the alignment of the blocks, and mason's lines dipped in ochre powder to create straight lines. To move the stone blocks into place, treadmill cranes powered by workers on wheels helped to hoist and lower the heavy loads. It's important to remember that there was no machinery back then. Everything had to be done with simple tools and human or animal power. As I specified in the previous episode, I'm going to be building a concentric castle. This sort of castle is different from others before it due to its 2 layers of walls and rounded towers. The first ring of walls attackers will encounter is the outer curtain wall, which is shorter than the inner curtain walls that surround the keep. This is so that the defenders standing on the inner curtain walls can shoot over the outer curtain walls towards the attackers. Within the outer curtain walls is the outer bailey. The outer bailey usually had buildings such as a blacksmith, stables, barracks, granaries, kitchens, servants' housings, and barns. Then the inner curtain walls came next, which surrounded the heart of the castle, the inner bailey, where the most important buildings and functions were kept. The inner bailey contained the castle's keep, which served as the lord's living quarters, in some cases a separate kitchen building, and the castle's well or cistern to provide the inhabitants with water to withstand sieges. As you can probably see, there are also a few different types of towers that I utilized in the walls. The first type is a simple round tower, which made it harder for siege machines to punch through and was sturdier against mining from the attackers. The second type is a basic square tower, which was easier to construct yet also easier to attack. The third type is a horseshoe tower or a D-shaped tower, which combines both tower types. It has the rounded front to make difficulties for the attackers, while the square back allows for easy storage of materials and division of rooms. Concentric castles usually utilize bent entrances to force attackers to slow down and more than one gatehouse, as I've done with the outer and inner bailies. There were a few different ways the castle walls and towers defended those who lived within them. The first is arguably the staple of castle design, the crenellations or battlements. These were the teeth-looking bits that poked out from the castle walls and towers. These allowed archers to take cover from attack behind the merlons, whilst being able to fire back through the embrasures or crenels. The second are machicolations, or the outcroppings of stone balconies spaced out along the walls. These allowed the defenders to drop hot sand, water, or large stones onto attackers who gathered at the base of the walls. Another form of defense were plinths, or angled stone bases at the bottoms of walls. These helped to avoid attackers gathering at the base of the walls and allowed defenders to shatter stones on them to keep attackers at bay. The final major form of architectural defense were hoardings. Hoardings were roofed wooden structures that were temporary machicolations made from wood. These were usually placed on the tops of towers and walls to shield the defenders from arrows and fire attacks. In addition, they were built on top of the preset holes in the castle walls, called putlogs, where the original scaffolding supports would have been during construction. Many of these defense types depended on where the castle was placed, and the lord's budget was an obvious contributing factor as well. Since we've covered mining, castle walls, towers, and the divisions of the concentric castle, next episode I'll be focusing on dividing up the castle's keep and exploring the various rooms a keep could contain. And now, as a reward for making it to the end of the video, I'm going to give a short castle tour. So, Here we are at the Barbican, which is the fortified gatehouse. While we're moving through the Barbican, you can see above you that there are the murder holes and the portcullis. I built it out of spruce fences. I couldn't really automate it with redstone, so I just thought this detail would have to suffice. So moving through the Barbican, you'd get to the outer bailey of the castle, and this is where all the external buildings would be kept. So things like the blacksmith, the servants' quarters, the barracks, the kitchen, things like that. This is what the outer bailey looks like. We have quite a lot of room to work with, so I'm kind of excited what I'm going to use this space for. You can get up to the outer curtain walls with this set of stairs, and this is what the view looks like from the outer curtain walls. This is what the inside of the Barbican looks like. Here's the detail for the portcullis. I was thinking that these grindstones could be used as like a pulley system, and these chains could be used by the soldiers to pull the gate up and down. And here are the murder holes that I showed earlier that you can use to drop hot sand or rocks or any other gross material onto the attackers moving through the Barbican. This tower on the outer curtain wall is somewhat of a prototype. I'm not sure if I want to keep the roof covered on these outer curtain towers or not, so I was just keeping this around as sort of a proof of concept. Maybe it'll grow on me if I look at it more, but we'll see if I keep it or not. Moving through the outer bailey, you'll see that a curved bridge leads directly into the inner bailey and into the keep section of the castle. This is just a nice decorative gatehouse I built for the bridge section particularly. I also built this nice right-hand turn staircase just so attackers who hold their sword in their right hand won't be able to defend against arrow fire from the inner curtain walls since they hold their shield in their left hand. Moving across the arched bridge, we will gain access through this gatehouse, through the inner gatehouse, into the inner bailey and the keep section of the castle complex. In the inner gatehouse, you'll see once again the same murder holes that are on the outer gate or the Barbican, and I was particularly unsure if I wanted another gate here or if I should just leave it be. For now I left it, but maybe that'll change in the future. And this is what the castle keep looks like from down here. I have to say I'm quite proud of it with the arrow slit windows and the decorative circular window and the stitching on the towers of the castle keep. Moving up onto the inner bailey walls or the inner curtain walls, we can see the outer bailey from here, so that attackers who gather at the base of these walls are also not safe. And in addition to that, you'll see these kind of box machicolation structures, and that's because I just noticed that when I was building these merlins, they weren't completely symmetrical, and I like my symmetry, so I added this even numbered box machicolation structure just to kind of make it look nice and add some variety to the structure. And of course, you can use the arrow slits as well as the murder holes to drop things on enemies. This is what the rest of the inner curtain wall looks like. It's not very exciting out here, but it does the job well, I think. Here I just have a dirt bridge for transporting supplies from the mine just up the mountain there and over this dirt bridge to the inner curtain wall. That's just for ease of access. Eventually I'll build a bridge or a port or something down there, or something along the shores just to make transporting materials from the mine easier for the workers and for myself. This is also what the rest of the outer curtain wall looks like. As I mentioned before with that singular tower, I'm kind of unsure of the tower design I want to go for, so I'm just kind of leaving them open for right now. You'll also notice that there's this strange line right here, this kind of gap between the wall and the ground. I personally just wasn't sure if I wanted to fill this with more dirt or if I wanted like a retaining wall or some other detail, but I will address that in the future. Over here you'll see another box machicolation, and then we will move down the stairs and give a tour of the keep. So going up the stairs into the keep, the first room you will encounter is the Great Hall, and I made this tall because I'm thinking of adding some decorative arches along with a fireplace and tables, and the Great Hall was usually where lords and nobles entertained their royal guests. Moving across the Great Hall, we will encounter the only spiral staircase in this tower. we will go down one floor into the undercroft. And the undercroft was usually used for storage, so as you can see I have some chests here already started. It also included a kitchen sometimes, or the dungeon of the castle. And as you'll see, I still have my tent here, so I'm gonna have to break that down eventually and move out of my humble tent beginnings. However, for my castle keep, I think I'm gonna keep the kitchen outside as to prevent a fire in the castle keep from spreading up the floors. Coming up the spiral staircase between the Great Hall and the next floor, we have a door here, and this door is particularly useful for guards and soldiers as it leads directly out onto the inner curtain walls. Going up one more floor, we have this floor. I say this floor because I'm not exactly sure what I want to put in here. I was thinking a barracks or sort of an armory, but I'm not sure if I want to put the barracks in the Barbican down there or if I want to put it directly in the castle keep. But I believe that the room divisions will be sorted out probably by next episode or the episode after that. Continuing our tour, going up one more floor, this is probably where my bedroom is going to be, along with maybe an enchanting table or a library of some sort, or perhaps even a chapel if I don't decide to make a separate building for that in the outer bailey. Going up the spiral staircase, we get to a ladder, and this is where the castle keep roof is. It's nothing special up here, just more crenellations and machiculations that allow you to drop more stuff, inflict more pain onto your attackers. This is kind of what the view is on the castle roof. You'll notice that you can shoot from the castle keep roof onto basically any of the larger tower structures. And that's because if the attackers happened to capture one of these towers, all would not be lost, because if they climb out onto the roof to return fire, your men or your soldiers or your guards can easily just pick them off from the rooftop of the castle or even the inner curtain walls down there. So with the castle tour being completed, I hope you guys enjoyed the castle. I hope you guys think it's an interesting project, because personally I'm very proud of the texturing on the walls and on the castle and on the keep itself. I'm just very pleased with the overall scale of this project. It was a bit daunting at first, but I think once I got underway and I started building a few things, gathering more supplies, I think I gathered confidence in myself, and this is what came out of it. So I hope you guys will stick around for the third episode, where we'll be dividing the castle keep into rooms, maybe furnishing some of them, and working more on the castle itself, including more bridges and maybe working more on the mine itself. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and I will see you in the next episode.